Hey guys, I'm Tamal and I like Harvest Moon. I just love how relaxing and engrossing these games can be, and so I decided, hey, why not make a list of my favorite Harvest Moon games? Remember, this is my list, and as such, not everyone will agree with it. Also, it will only include games that I've played, so unfortunately that means Harvest Moon 64 will not be on the list, as I haven't really played a lot of that game, not enough to actually have a solid opinion. Also, I'm only counting the main game, so no spin-offs like Rune Factory. That being said, let's get started. Number 5. Number 5 on the list is a relatively recent entry in the series, Harvest Moon: A New Beginning for the 3DS. Probably one of the best Harvest Moon games in years, A New Beginning brings back a lot of the core gameplay, with a bunch of crops and animals to take care of, with very little gimmicks with them, but also adds so much new stuff. New tools, a bunch of new activities you can do, and a ton of stuff to build. This is easily one of the most customizable Harvest Moon games out there. My favorite part is building up the town as you want, seeing it turn from an empty field with like 3 people living there, to a huge bustling town that's laid out like how you would like it, with a ton of people moving in as you build it up. So with all these great things, why is this game so low? One word: pacing. This game is very slow starting out, with a lot of features locked down until you can build the proper structures, or like unlock a certain quest. Not only that, but a lot of the materials you need tend to be very luck-based, and there's not usually a reliable way to get them outside of waiting for them to spawn. If you can get past the very slow start and the grinding, A New Beginning is a very good addition to the Harvest Moon series, and that's why it makes my number 5 slot. Number 4. Number 4 on my list may be a bit of a surprise to some people, but it's Harvest Moon: Magical Melody. On a purely technical level, this is probably one of the best Harvest Moon games out there. It uses a lot of the mechanics from previous games, but it polishes them and does them very well. It's also the first one that really lets you customize your farm through building structures where you want or buying land, but personally I didn't like it as much as others in the series. The focus of this game is on collecting notes, which are pretty much mini achievements like cooking stuff or catching every single type of fish. These do keep the pace brisk, as you always have something to work towards. The main problem I have with this game is that it always felt kind of clunky to me. Movement itself is pretty sluggish, and I kinda wish the animations didn't take so long. Also, the characters were somewhat forgettable, but mostly that's because a lot of them were from other Harvest Moon games. Also, a bunch of the notes were pretty grindy. But overall, Magical Melody is still a solid Harvest Moon game, and that's why it's my number 4. Number 3. Number 3 is Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life for the GameCube. Not the PS2 version, that one sucks. But honestly, what I like about A Wonderful Life comes from how different it is, while still maintaining a lot of the familiar stuff. The core farming itself is pretty solid, with a livestock system that makes breeding pretty important, and the inclusion of hybrid crops makes things pretty interesting, even if it does take forever to water everything. Yeah, but unlike other Harvest Moon games, the main focus this time is on your family, especially on your son. Pretty much everything you do will influence him, like the people you talk to, what toys you buy him. Hell, even if you milk your cows using a milker or by hand, will influence what he does in the future. Not only that, but I actually love how time progresses in this game. Characters change as the years go by. It's pretty cool to see the kids from the beginning of the game grow up to be adults by the end. Originally this was gonna be higher on my list, but upon replaying it for this footage, I kinda noticed that there's not really a whole lot to do outside of the farm. The town itself is pretty small, and there aren't any actual real festivals to attend. Also, there aren't really a lot of upgrades to work towards. Still, Wonderful Life is an engrossing experience that still deserves my number 3 spot. Number 2. Number 2 on my list is something a bit more recent. Harvest Moon Animal Parade for the Wii. Animal Parade felt like a return to form after some not-so-great games. Here, you are a new resident of Harmonica Town, tasked with gathering the 5 bells to restore the forces of nature. Naturally, this is going to involve farming. A lot of farming. Probably the thing I like most about this game, though, is how well it actually implements the story. The quests themselves are actually pretty interesting, and they're usually integrated with how you build up your farm, as you're going to need to use it to get a lot of the materials you'll need. Also, unlike A New Beginning, this game doesn't lock you out of a lot of major features until you reach a certain part of the story. Obviously from the name Animal Parade, you can tell that there's also a ton of animals to befriend, and it's nice to have a wider variety of pets, like boars. Also, you can ride your cows once they love you enough. Animal Parade is also one of the most balanced Harvest Moon games to me. It never feels like you have too much time or too little energy to get things done, so downtime is kept to a minimum. The only complaint I would have to say is that it takes a lot of effort to befriend people in this game, especially when compared to other Harvest Moon games, and some of the travel times and loading can be a bit much. But these are pretty minor complaints. Animal Parade is a pleasant surprise, and it's deserving of my number 2 spot. And my favorite Harvest Moon game, Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town. This is kind of an obvious choice, but Friends of Mineral Town pretty much embodies everything I love about Harvest Moon. There's a ton of stuff to do, enough to keep you busy for years, a large cast of interesting characters to interact with, and plenty of side events and festivals that you can participate in. A lot of them are actually pretty fun. The core farming mechanic itself is pretty simple, but with plenty of animals and crops to raise and a quick and efficient tool selection system, it never really feels slow or bogged down. Technically, Friends of Mineral Town is just a port of Back to Nature for the PS1, but with even more stuff added in, like hard events, more recipes, and the cursed and mythic tools, which by themselves added hours to the game. But the main reason this game is still my favorite is the fact that there's always stuff to do, and very little of it is filler. It always feels like you're making progress. Everything has a purpose, whether it's to build relationships, take care of your animals, or to just make enough money for that next house upgrade. At no point did I ever feel I had too much downtime. Also, it's portable. Overall, Friends of Mineral Town is still the benchmark I use to compare all the other Harvest Moon games, and that's why it's my number 1. Even if there are some really weird translation issues. That's not even English.